When there is such a demand for ministry, the anointing arises. And I'm sure those of you who understand ministry know that. The work of ministry puts a demand on the anointing. When there is no work, there is no anointing. It is the demand of work that triggers or puts a demand on the anointing. People ask you questions. How do I access the anointing to serve God? The anointing is triggered by the demand of work. When there is a demand, that demand puts pressure, puts a demand. When there's a demand on your calling, that puts a demand on the anointing. You will never have the anointing to heal the blind until there is that demand. That's why Jesus, the Bible talks about without faith, you can't get nothing. You put a demand. He saw their faith. If you have to do a serious, for lack of another word, if you have to do a miracle that is visible, that people can talk about, it is only triggered by the demand. The anointing never sits in an idle position or in a vacuum. There is no anointing hanging, waiting for work. The anointing is triggered by the demand. That's why when there is no demand, there is no grace, there is no anointing. So staying in a safe environment is simply staying away from the anointing. It is the work that puts a demand on the anointing. I repeat, the healing grace or the anointing for healing is triggered by sickness. You must have compassion and feel those who are sick, and that triggers the anointing. You can never have an anointing for a show or a dormant anointing hanging around you. It's not like fat, that when you're doing nothing, you increase fat. The anointing comes when there is a demand. Are you here? The anointing to raise the dead comes when there is a demand. If you study in the scriptures, in the Old Testament, the anointing will come when there is need and lift. You remember Samson? The Spirit would come on him. You remember Elijah? The Spirit would come on him. As much as the Spirit of God resides in you, the anointing is triggered. Let me give you a very good example. I think I've given this example before. That one day I was moving from a brother's house, Dr. Tairo's house, in Kimuma, and I was crossing to my house. In his neighborhood, there was a neighbor who had some serious dogs. So I was crossing late in the night, around 11, I was in his house. So when I was about to about to cross the road, there's this neighbor, my friend's neighbor, who had dogs. So by that time, dogs were free. So at the gate, 5 dogs appeared from nowhere. And it's dark. And they were all rushing my direction. Now, out of that, a demand was created in me. So I turned around immediately, and I found a rock. And out of that pressure, I raised that rock and threw it at dogs. When it hit the ground, the place shook. And I could hear the dogs taking off. And I felt so powerful. And I went home. The following morning, I came back. I even tried to push the rock. I couldn't push it an inch. Where did the energy come from? Demand. Have you discovered when you are threatened, there's an extra energy? There was a young man who used to be together. You know him. He was called Steve. Steve was studying forestry. His home was somewhere in Tairimbili, roadblock. And I think the mother had wanted to discipline him, but she didn't know how to do it. So an opportunity showed up, and the mother to Steve wanted to discipline Steve. He was in the university. He was a mature boy. So I think they quarreled in the house. So Steve rushed out of the house. The mother pursued him. Steve ran through the gate, and the mother knew there is no road out. After the gate, he has to come by a path towards the main road. When the mother realized he can't catch up with Steve, she went through the fence and jumped over the fence. When she got to the other side, she looked back And the story was about how she jumped the fence. When there is demand, the anointing is triggered. Are you here? The reason why most people don't see the manifestation of the power of God is because they don't dare serious issues. The things you confront are obvious. The things you deal with are very normal. You can do them without having to pray. That's why to some people fasting is punishment, because they have no demand that needs such fasting. Are you getting what I'm saying? All of us carry a package of anointing, but the demand will trigger the anointing.